Hello everyone, I'm back with my third YouTube video. My pole for my home has finally been installed. It's been up for about a week now, and as promised in my last video, I was going to talk to you all about the installation process and also some of the other different options that are available to you if you're looking for a pole for your own home. So if you don't know me, my name is Brian Rich, and I'm a pole dancer based on the Sunshine Coast in Queensland, Australia. So for the last 2-ish months, my partner and I have been renovating our home, really just replacing the floors, but it's been quite involved. We had to rip up the old tile and then get everything replaced with a new tile, and it's taken a long time. But finally, the day has come where my pole's up. So I'm very excited about it. I've been using it almost every day since it's been installed. And I wanted to talk to you about what the installation process is like for the pole that I went with, because you don't really see them too often in people's homes. They're common in studio, but I think it's a great option for your home, especially if you own your home, because they do have to be drilled into the ceiling and floor. But the brand is called Pussycat Pole, and they are made in Australia, and they have been used on many of the different competition stages throughout Australia. And in my opinion, they're the best option to go with if you can drill into your ceiling and floor, if that's an option for you. So I think the top 3 reasons I decided to go with Pussycat Pole over some of the other brands was, 1, they offer 38mm brass finish. So 38mm diameter, and then it's made of solid brass, which is important to me. It's just my favorite finish. Secondly, they are reinforced internally with a steel beam. So they're very resistant to bending over time, like some of the other poles can. And it just is a really sturdy piece of equipment. And you can really tell just by dancing on it. It is not going anywhere. Thirdly, I would say that it's one piece. So there's no different parts that are connected. It's all just one piece of brass. And that's just kind of, I guess, a personal preference for me as well. I like the way it looks. I have cut myself before on some of the other poles that have different pieces attached to them. So it was just kind of something that I wanted. It was just one piece. And I guess I'll show it to you now. So here we are. So as you can see, it is quite tall. It's 4.1 meters tall. And it's permanently mounted to the floor there, which I'll give you a close-up of in a bit, and then also permanently mounted to the ceiling there. So I had to get a tradie to install the wooden beam on my ceiling because Pussycat Pole, they don't have any sort of ceiling mount that allows for a slanted ceiling. So that was kind of the first hurdle. You have to send off exact measurements in millimeters to Pussycat Pole for your ceiling height. So before I could even send them a measurement, I had to get that wooden beam installed. And secondly, having a tradie in general to help you with this is really important, unless you're handy in general with other things, because you have to screw the pole into the ceiling and the floor. That's something that I am not able to do myself. And luckily I found a tradie that had previously built many rock climbing walls in schools and gyms. So I feel like he was a really good person to go with because he knows about I guess, structural requirements for something like this, as well as just having the knowledge of how to install a pole, I guess, as close as you can get to someone that has never done it before. So that's it. So I might give you some close-ups here in just a minute. So here's the base. It has 3 screws that have screwed into the floor. Underneath the tiles in my house, there is a concrete subfloor. So those are actually drilled completely through the tile and into the concrete. But you can really just tell the quality of this pole compared to some of the others. It's even branded there, the Pussycat Pole Australia. The spin static function is just through this hole there. You just put a hex key through and twist it to switch from spin and static. And then I'll try and show you the ceiling mount. It's just 2 screws into that wooden beam, and that was kind of easy to install. It was mostly the floor that was the most difficult. But yeah, very happy with the quality of this and the craftsmanship, I guess, that went into it. So now that you've seen the pole, I just thought I'd quickly run through some of the other offerings that Pussycat Pole has. So they have 45 mil diameter options in brass and stainless steel, and then you can also get a 38 mil stainless steel if you wish. However, if you live in Australia, I would highly recommend the 38 mil brass, as that's what a lot of competitions use, and that's also kind of the diameter that many studios have. So highly recommend that. Now, before Pussycat Pole, I'd only ever had X-Pole's X-Pert, and that's a removable tension-mounted pole. And I've had it in 40 mil brass and 40 mil powder-coated, just briefly. And I do think they're great options if you are renting and you otherwise can't drill into your ceiling and floor. The way they work is there's several different extensions that are available depending on what your ceiling height is. So it comes with an A pole and a B pole, and those are 2 larger pieces. And then you supplement that with an extension. So it could be as small as this, or they have all the way up to 1,000 millimeters. And so you have to kind of measure your ceiling using their height charts that they have available on their website, and then use that to figure out which extensions, if any, that you need to suit your ceiling. Now, X-Pole also offers permanent ceiling mounts. So if you would like to have a tension-mounted pole but still drilled into the ceiling, they have 2 options for ceiling mounts that you can buy, and one of them actually does suit a slanted ceiling like I have. So if you were to go with X-Pole and you have a slanted ceiling, you wouldn't be able to use the tension-mounted dome, which has no screws, but you could have the option of having the permanently mounted ceiling attachment that it actually has like a little ball bearing in there, so it kind of can move at any angle. But for the tension-mounted domes, if you have a flat ceiling, they're great because pretty much once you take one down, there's really no trace of it ever being put up. So it's landlord approved. Although sometimes there's a little bit of a ring that can be left on your ceiling, it's very easy to just kind of, I guess, touch that up with a little bit more paint or just wipe it off. It's never been an issue for me, and I've been using them for years. Now, X-Poles, they offer a wide variety of finishes. So they have brass, powder coated, stainless steel, chrome, and then they also have silicone ones. So if you, I don't really, it's not my thing, but if you want a silicone pole, you can kind of use it with clothes on. That's an option for you there. Now, things that I don't like about X-Pole, number one, I guess I just don't really like the little lines that you see on the pole with all the extensions, and sometimes I find that they can be a little bit rough. I have cut myself on them before. Not that it's that big of a deal, but just something to be aware of. Additionally, if you want a brass X-Pole, you have to be really careful when you're cleaning it because the base of the pole is actually not made out of brass. It's some sort of a stainless steel that's been coated with a polish to make it look like brass, but it will very easily wipe off. I've seen it in some studios that have X-Poles, and they are, obviously getting a lot of use. So when they're cleaned, over time that brass finish kind of wears off. So it just ends up looking like it has a silver base, which that would bother me, might not bother you, but something to be aware of either way. There can be a few quality control issues I've noticed, depending on, I guess, the shipments that X-Pole get from their manufacturer. I've seen some friends lately that have extensions that have this weird banding pattern around them, which can't be wiped off. And I think that's a little bit of an issue, especially the price point that you're paying. However, I will say that X-Pole's always had really great customer service for me. Excuse me. So if you do have an issue, I'm sure if you were to get in contact with them, they would be sure to sort it out for you. Um, as for other brands, I've only ever used X-Pole in my own home, but I do know that there's several other brands that offer home poles, whether that be tension mounted or permanently mounted. So the first that comes to mind is Lupit Pole, and that's a European brand. Um, from friends that have them, I've heard they're very high quality. Um, they seem to be very well made. Uniquely, they offer 42 millimeter diameter poles. I'm not sure why. It's always kind of usually 38, 40, or 45, or 50. But for whatever reason, Lupit Pole offers a 42 mil. I've never tried the 42 mil, but I have tried the 45. And yes, they are very nice quality poles. Great option for you if you're renting or if you want to drill it in. They have permanent mounts that are available as well. The other option is platinum stages. Now, these are very popular when I lived in the US in studios and in some competitions, although I had never personally competed in the US. And they drill into the ceiling and floor, kind of similar to Pussycat Pole, and they're also one piece. So you have to provide them exact measurements of your ceiling height, and then they'll ship you the pole, and it's just one piece. So something to be wary of. Again, it's an option for you if you can drill into your floor and ceiling, great. However, I'm not sure if they are still around as much as they were. I think X-Pole for the large part has really taken over the market, particularly in the US, but it's also starting to happen in Australia as well. So something to look into though. I believe I checked their website and they do have stock in 45 millimeter brass and stainless steel finishes. Something to be aware of. Another pole brand that I've heard a lot about lately, and also I've tried some of their products, is the Pole Italy, and it's an Italian brand, and they offer really, really beautiful stage poles. They have wooden bases in kind of like a hexagon shape, and then the poles are generally powder coated either white or black, although they do offer stainless steel options as well. And you can get them in 40 mil diameter and 45 mil diameter. These poles, the components of them are really, really high quality. You can tell that they've put a lot of thought into the design, particularly of the stage pole. But they also offer regular either tension or permanently mounted poles as well. And so that's an option for you. You know, if you're in Europe particularly, I looked at shipping one to Australia and it would be very, very expensive. So probably not one for the Australian market, but if you're in maybe the US or in Europe somewhere, then I would look into them as well. I think that about does it for pole brands that I have experience with. I'm sure there are others. In fact, I'm sure I know of others that I just can't think of at the moment, but those would be the main ones. So definitely if you're in Australia, I highly recommend Pussycat Pole if you can drill into your ceiling and floor. Otherwise, I would recommend X-Pole's X-Pert model. Something to note as well is that X-Pole does offer stage poles as well. I'm not a huge fan of them just because they are so heavy. And if you've ever tried one, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But stage poles in general, they're great for outdoors. You know, that's kind of about it for me. I really don't have a whole lot of love for stage poles. Just because when you're on them, they also wobble so much, it's actually scary. But you know, that's just my preference. I did also just want to mention another smaller brand that I'm not sure if they're making poles anymore, but check them out on Instagram or Facebook, and their name is Proformance Poles. They're made in Melbourne, I believe. And I'm not sure if they're making poles anymore, but just thought I'd mention it because they also offer 38 mil brass. And I know that's a really popular finish here in Australia. So that's probably about it for today. And in my next video, I'll have a new exciting announcement. So I'm super excited to make a video about that. And until then, I'll catch you next time. See ya.